Come on, I'm trying to... Oh, shit. Just trying to get my late round snags. Yo! What's up, everybody? It's back. It's another episode of Too Much Fantasy Football. It's Brian. It's Brennan. It's the stupidest openings you could ever find on a fantasy show. How we doing?
There's a bar you set each time, and it just somehow it just goes higher and higher. I'm truly impressed here.
Hey, we gotta set the expectations for these shows, and it's not even regular season. I can't wait to see what we're busting into.
No kidding. Oh my goodness.
But it's been a fun week 3. Preseason has come to a close, and here we are sitting here with some late round snags. But of course, Jerry Jones has to keep things interesting, and we got to bring you a small news segment. So here we go with a small video. Can't bring the full video, it's preseason. We got to keep it small, We'll bust it out big next week or 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Hey, CeeDee got the money, right? Take it away.
He did. He got the bag, man. 4 years, $136 million, $100 million fully guaranteed, which I think equates to like $38 million a season. I mean, he wanted the bag. He said those tweets back and forth of like Jerry Jones saying he's not a priority and then CeeDee saying LOL, okay. Like, I was like getting a little nervous for everybody who's taking, pick 2, pick 3. You're just like, oh God, like please just get this over with, like because everyone gets shades of Le'Veon Bell, but they got it done. So everyone who's been the second overall pick, everyone's very excited right now.
Right, you can wipe the brow. We're not stressing quite as much. Kind of just cements him in as essentially the consensus wide receiver 1. Tyreek Hill's a great argument there, but CeeDee Lamb should just see a stupid target share, like 30% stupid.
Yeah, I mean when Brandon Cooks is like round 12 and Jalen Tolbert's like basically going undrafted, the only other guy ahead of him is Jake Ferguson. Like CeeDee Lamb very much should easily finish as wide receiver 1 this year without a doubt.
Yeah, it's wild how big the gap is between the first Cowboy player taken and then the second one taken, which is usually like you said Ferguson or Dak way back there. It's ridiculous, but it makes it easy. Screw the Texans and their 3 wide receivers in the top 2, 3, 4 rounds. Like, nope, the Cowboys make it easy for us. Just one guy and one guy only. And Jerry finally had to pay that guy.
Yeah, he paid him big time.
Who knows?
I've said I think Dak walks at the end of the year and just go gets a bag from a random team like the Raiders after they go through this colossal of not getting the first overall pick.
Yeah, they would drop that ball, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Next up, Nick Chubb. It's not another squat video, folks. He is landing on the pup, which can't be too surprising, right? Pup's only 4 weeks, could be longer, but it's only going to be 4 weeks for him. That means Jerome Ford. We're pretty excited about that. Is that a hesitation draft pick, or are you pretty?
No, I mean, like you're expecting, Jerome Ford to potentially be the running back one because we just don't know what's going to happen with Nick Chubb. I mean, we all watched the injury last year. It's gross. It made us all almost kind of throw up in our mouth a little bit when we saw it. I mean, yeah. I mean, for me, like I expected Jerome Ford to be the running back one for a little bit of time until Nick Chubb finally, basically comes back into fruition. But I don't think we missed anything of Jerome Ford. I think he seems to be pretty much overlooked. And I think last year the guy was very helpful for you when you picked him off the waiver wire. So I think Jerome Ford's kind of like the discount seal of the draft for most people, if you're going to be honest.
Yeah, Donta Foreman, he took his ride in the ambulance a couple weeks ago, but he came out there, played pretty well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this backfield's broken up. Is it like a 60-70% Jerome Ford, then we've got these complemental pieces that kind of come in to give him a break, or do we see closer to a 50-50 share before Nick Chubb comes in? But luckily, the draft picks, it's baked in there, so you're not spending a whole lot for these guys. This is definitely leaning in for those like hero RB, zero RB approach guys, just trying to play clean up.
I agree.
Next one, Drake May. Goes from a guy, he's not performing well, he's not looking good, to all of a sudden, kid's running all over the field. Brissett's got an injury, and we might see him a lot sooner than we expected. Where does this leave you with the Patriot pieces? Are you excited for those late round dart throws on some of them?
Yeah, it's just a little interesting because, like, I mean, let's just say Drake May goes out there and he just has like a mediocre game. Does Brissett come back? Like, are they just now they're kind of stuck with starting May for the season? It's very interesting with that. Like, but the pieces around him, I think, they're all really cheap. So, like, honestly, if you're going to gamble on somebody, like, besides, I think Ramondre is probably the most expensive out of the bunch. Like, Jalen Polk's going like in the 13th round, Demario Douglas, like Kendrick, like all these guys, like who could easily be the wide receiver one. I mean, you're getting him super late. It's a dart throw. You might as well just call your shot on the guy who you think is going to lead the team in yards, receptions, touchdowns. Like out of the guys I mentioned, who's your guy? If you're going to take one from the Patriots, like who are you more than likely ending up with most times?
It's Polk. At this point in redraft, I don't really think the cost matters at this point. I know Javon Baker, the rookie, there's been hype on him in best ball, but at this point, Polk, he's the size to be the number one. He has the draft capital to be the number one. They don't have anything else, and I think this team really needs to push their young players to see what they have on this team. So, yeah, Polk's definitely the one I pulled the trigger on.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think my two it's been Demario Douglas. I mean, when Demario's on the field,
I don't hate him.
Yeah, he's just like super fun guy to watch. A big yak guy too. Just when he gets the ball in his hands, he's just lightning in a bottle. So,
and if we're being honest, Hunter Henry might be my favorite of the pass catchers. I think it might have leaned a little harder with Brisket. If he was going to be the quarterback, Drake May might. He's got a little bit more playmaking ability. So, we might see it spread out a little bit more than I was hoping. I thought we were going to see a heavy target share go to Henry, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
What do we have here? We've got Jamar Chase back at practice with a new contract. No, he's just back at practice. No contract. Still making pennies.
Oh, I know. Millions of dollars, pennies.
Whiny little baby. No, I'm kidding. Go get your money, man. You deserve it.
Yeah.
But next year, dude, go out there and play ball for me. You guys had a very disappointing season last year. Joe Burrow might be hampered by this hand a little bit, so he's going to need you out there stretched and ready to roll. We worried?
This wide receiver room is really, really interesting because, like, well, I've already stated I think T. Higgins is a good discount where you're getting him at most drafts just because I think we've seen him be hover right around the, wide receiver 10 to 14 range. That's basically where his ceiling is. And you're getting him super cheap. But, like, if he gets hurt or he has a hampering injury, like, he's for sure going to sit out. Like, he has no contract. He has no guaranteed money after that. Like, he's going to for sure sit out and wait his time because he will get a bag this offseason. My thing with Jamar Chase is that it's kind of the same situation too, where like he has a little bit of a nagging injury week 13, week 14. Like he doesn't have that bag yet. Like why push it? It's like I think Jamar Chase, I've said this before, I think he is the most talented wide receiver in the league. I think, and so he's probably looking at the same Justin Jefferson type contract. I think he might pull the Trent Williams where he gets paid like 125 grand more than the other guy just so he can be the highest paid. But I think with him being back at practice, guys who were, have like the 5th overall pick feel a little more comfortable today taking him after when they took him.
Meanwhile, T. Higgins, who's actually on the last year of his contract, is watching Jamar Chase over there just screw you, buddy. Screw you.
Yeah.
T. Higgins, we need to get you some money too. Let's get you to the Raiders. Let's get you to Arizona, somewhere willing to pay.
Patriots.
Wow, we've got a trade. And a big one here. It's in division. How often do you see this stuff happening?
Yeah.
Weird, though. Dotson, the presumably number 2 receiver for the Commanders, he's being traded to the Eagles. They send him and a pick for a couple picks back. It's weird. It's how you trade a first-round pick that's been screwed up. I don't know. I'm excited for Hurts to have somebody who does have a talent profile better than what we've seen with like Quez Watkins as the number 3. So it busts, I don't know, Jalen Hurts just up a little bit for me. Not enough that actually makes a difference, but I guess it gives me a little confidence that, hey, if A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith goes down, we're still going to have somebody with, a talent profile that we've seen higher than what you usually see as wide receiver 3.
Yeah, slightly disappointed when that trade happened because a lot of my Jaden Daniels best ball stacks had, of course, John Dotson. So have basically no stacks with him anymore. So that's really unfortunate. But yeah, it was really weird coming out of the camp. A lot of the beat writers are saying like he's on the fringe of like making the team. It was like really weird comments where I was like, that's kind of weird. Like he's a first round pick. Maybe he butted heads with the coaches. I think him going to the Eagles and like him not having to worry about, solidifying his spot, he's going to be the number 3. And I think he knows that. Like, obviously, it goes A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and then potentially him. They run, I think Kellen Moore runs a decent amount of 3 wide receiver sets. So, like, I think it works out in his favor as well, too. I mean, Jahan Dotson's an afterthought in redraft now. Like, I mean, like, you're basically, if Devonta Smith or AJ Brown gets injured, for sure he'll be the number 1 waiver wire pickup of the week.
Yep.
But other than that, like it has no real fantasy relevance towards the Eagles and him. But the wide receiver 2 now gets a little more interesting in Commanders. Like that's where it's a little interesting.
We saw Commanders rumors for Ayuk. Is this getting them more draft capital to make something happen, possibly getting it's a third they're getting back, so I can't see that that's really what's holding them pushing it over the edge, but that's the only thing that makes sense because Diami Brown as your wide receiver 2, Luke McCaffrey as your wide receiver 2, no thanks.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like it's everyone's obviously like, once that trade happened, they insinuated for sure like, oh, Ayuk has got to be like coming to town because like why would you trade your wide receiver 2 away for pennies on the dollar? It's like, but there was already comments that Jahan Dotson wasn't doing well, so maybe they just wanted to get out quickly and they like what they have the guys in the room already. I mean, I still think if you're asking me right now, Brian, I still think Ayuk is a San Francisco 49er week 1. I think he'll be out there against the Jets week 1.
I'm going hard on Debo lately, so I hope you're dead freaking wrong. But yeah, it's looking like it's going to be closer and closer because really, you're going to be traded days before the season starts. It won't be pretty for Ayuk if he gets traded at this point. I don't think.
Yeah,
I will say though, Washington and Philly plays in the fantasy playoffs. So as far as your best ball exposure, it's not terrible. It could have been a worse trade. So there still is a correlation. And then of course we're going to glance over this as fast as we can because it's the mediocre. It's Juju. He got cut and he's going to the Chiefs. He made me bring it up. I couldn't even think of something fun or anything to do with this because it's Juju. He's at the Chiefs again. Take it away. Take it away.
I just thought it was funny that he goes back to his old, team where he actually did, I guess, somewhat decent, but he's a shell of himself from the Steelers. I mean, his knee, I guess, from my understanding, is like on the verge of exploding at any moment. So I don't think this moves the needle for anything. I think this might be a, safety blanket for if Hollywood Brown were to miss time. He obviously knows the system. He can play in it. So I just think it's more of they're not sure if Hollywood Brown will be ready week 1. So that's
they brought Mecole Hardman back just a couple of months ago. It's
frustrating.
That's all there is to it. So late round snags. Here we go. We're going to start with round 10. Trying to get at these guys. You're usually going about 16 rounds in most of your home league drafts. So round 10, Chase Brown was somebody I thought we needed to bring up. At this point in the draft, you're not seeing a whole lot of guys that can be counted as starters. Maybe he's not actually the first one to get a snap, but I see him in that Bengals backfield with Zach Moss, kind of a 1A, 1B, as we've talked about with Tennessee and some of the other backfields. So Chase Brown, a very explosive player. Most of us probably remember that play where he shoots down the sideline, just absolutely blows past guys. So you can do worse in the 10th round than Chase Brown.
Yeah, a lot of people are there are some serious Chase Brown believers that he's going to be the running back 1 over Zach Moss, and I'm not one of them. I just think it's they brought in Zach Moss as a third down back because of pass protection. Zach Moss is actually one of the best pass protecting running backs, and I think that's why they made that investment towards signing him. I just think I still lean Zach Moss as the running back 1. They paid him the money, they signed him right away, and we obviously saw Zach Moss play with the Colts and fill in pretty well for Jonathan Taylor's shoes. So Chase Brown's, lightning in a bottle for sure, but I just think at the end of the day, if you're expecting him to be the running back 1 and lead this team in yards and attempts, I just don't think that's the case. But I don't hate where you take him because obviously, it's that very end of running back 30 to 35 range. So,
next running back we have here is J.K. Dobbins going in round 11. He's splitting time with the rookie Vidal.
Mm-hmm.
We have
Vidal.
Gus Edwards. J.K. Dobbins has torn something half the seasons that he's in the NFL. So I loved J.K. Dobbins, loved the talent, been a huge fan for so many years, but this was the year I was going to let go. And what are the Chargers doing to me? They're bringing me back in. They're bringing me back in. It's a little pricier than I want to pay. I mean, it's 11th round picks. We're shooting darts at this point. But where is your freak out meter as far as J.K. Dobbins?
So there's two things. One, do you want to know what his guaranteed contract is?
It's like $100,000, isn't it?
$50,000 is what he's guaranteed.
Oh, not even.
Yeah. So there's that. Two, I don't know if you saw the picture at camp where they show the picture of him from behind, and I don't know if you saw the difference in his calf on his right leg compared to his surgically prepared leg on his left leg. That's a twig compared to a tree trunk. Like, it was kind of scary. So that was a little interesting. I think J.K. Dobbins knows Greg Roman's system, so I think he is going to play until he doesn't. I think that's what it's going to come down to. Obviously, labeling guys injury prone is silly, but like, just some guys' bodies break down quicker than others, and his body has just not lasted long in the NFL, which is kind of disappointing because I really thought he was super talented coming out of Ohio State. But obviously, when he plays, he's super fun to watch because he is very good. It's just his body just sometimes can't handle the brutal force of the NFL. But yeah, I mean, I don't hate it with where you're taking him in the basically the end of the 11th, early 12th. You're kind of hoping that he kind of fills in as like a PPR guy for that offense for Herbert. So
with you saying that we could really see him being used quite a bit until he's done, is that kind of something if you see Gus Edwards not getting maybe gets a couple touchdowns so he's fantasy viable, but we're not seeing a massive workload. Is that something where you're going to kind of like maintain, pull back expectations a little bit, just understanding like that full situation?
Yeah, like, I mean, I think Gus Edwards leads this team in attempts and, rushing attempts for that matter, but I think J.K. Dobbins could easily come in and snag like, 8 to 12. I mean, this team definitely wants to run the ball first. They made it very, very clear this will be a run first team. So I think he's definitely going to get his touches.
Nice. Next one we have, I know, we're going to be boring. Just for 60 seconds, folks. That's all we got here. Josh Palmer, wide receiver for the Chargers, staying on that team. But at 12:08, possibly the starter for a Justin Herbert offense, a offense that will have to throw the ball. I know the rumors are that they won't throw the ball at all, like a single time this year. But I did a little research, and yeah, Justin Herbert's got a pretty high over-under for yardage. So he's going to toss the rock somewhere. He's got to toss it to a receiver. Why not Josh Palmer?
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. I mean, like, everyone is like lad believers, and which is fine because obviously they took him in pretty high draft capital. But like, I mean, I think he averaged like almost 11 points per game with the absence of both Mike Dobbs and Keenan Allen last year. And I mean, if you're going to get anywhere from 10 to 12 points, a game with going basically dirt cheap at the end of the 12th, beginning of the 13th, like. He's going to obviously be, if you're in a 3 wide receiver league, that's a wide receiver 3 flex spot for you that you can count on. And you're getting him at the end of the draft. So,
and not that I'm not excited for McConkey, but he hasn't exactly been the poster boy for health. He's been kind of banged up a little bit already just in his short NFL career and then going back into his collegiate days. That is a possibility. He's not a huge guy by any means. We've seen some of these smaller guys have success, so I'm not knocking him for it. But it's just something to kind of keep in the back of your head. All right. Super excited about this one. 13th round, Jalen Wright. Oh my gosh, we've seen him in the preseason. I don't care if he's the third running back. I usually don't want to take a third running back really at all in a draft, but this is a kid I am willing to do it. He's also the slowest on the team as far as these skill players. So like, I'm making all the points just to draft him, right? No, like get him. Devon Achane is not the guy that's going to make it through 17 games. Raheem Mostert has never done it. So we've heard the head coach. Well, Mike McDaniel, he's come out and said that it's a hot hand approach. And I 100% believe him. He will scheme up all 3 of these guys to get their touches, and it's one injury away. He doesn't need both of these players to go away for Jalen Wright to be great. He just needs one to go away, and it's just I'm not gonna say it, but you go to that big thing in the sky that's not the sun. The other one. I'm not gonna say it. I hate the saying. I hate it. It ruined it for me.
Oh,
Jalen Wright. What's your feelings there?
I'm, with him going basically the end of the 13th, beginning of the 14th. I mean, Devon Achane, obviously, when he played, holy crap, fun, exciting. It's the reason why he's going in the middle of the second. That's why I took him in my big draft, yesterday or on Saturday. I'm there's an afterthought that Devon does miss time, and then Jalen Wright fills in those shoes for Devon if he misses it, or even if Raheem Mostert gets injured and he fills in those shoes. I think he's kind of like the in betweener between both Devon and Raheem Mostert. I think it's why he fits in so well, and you're getting him basically at the end of the draft. Like, I have no issues with that. I think he's a guy that you can just kind of stash and wait and see.
Wait and see. That's the title for our next guy. Taysom Hill, I know. This is the conversation we have in week 3 on the waiver show, but we're doing it now. I can't help myself. He's supposed to be more involved. This offense is absolutely garbage. We will be talking about it a little bit more on a My Guys episode, maybe. But Taysom Hill, it's just... I can't not. The premier ability to put him in the tight end position. If you absolutely punt the position, I want Taysom Hill as one of my last 2 tight ends, just because of that possibility. We've seen him running the ball before in the past. You've heard him talk about it recently. And Alvin Kamara, he is there as a pass catcher strictly for Derek Carr, because you can't get the ball to anybody else. So Taysom Hill, if you want to take shots, you play risky. He's a guy for me.
I want nothing to do with Taysom Hill.
Oh come on!
I'm out. I think the Saints will be one of the worst offenses in the league. I'm in on Alvin Kamara just because of the touches that I think he'll get, all the checkdowns. I think Taysom Hill. I think the Saints as a whole, as a team, is just the definition of kicking the can down the road, and they just need to blow it up. And I think it's going to happen after this season.
Hey, we got pre-snap motion coming to this team. Last place team last year with the Saints, and they've got a coach bringing in some pre-snap motion. So I'm holding out hope. But 14-round pick here, folks. He could be dropped after week 1, picked up in week 3, and dropped again on week 4. I completely expect that, but hey, I like to have my bases covered. Speaking of which, Jaleel McLaughlin, 15-round running back. My biggest thing with him is Sean Payton. I think it's over the last 11 years. He has had a top 5 running back group in targets. Sorry, struggle there. 11 years. 7 of his teams have been in the top 5 for running back targets. And you know what? He didn't even coach one of those years. Oh, no, 2 of those years. Took a year off, and then he had to go do that movie with Paul Blart. So I think just that alone, this is a garbage team. They're going to see lots of garbage time points. We're going to be dumping the ball left and right because Bo Nix loves throwing by the line of scrimmage. So Jaleel McLaughlin, I think, has a great chance of giving you a nice RB3 time to time.
Yeah, I think with him going in basically like undrafted late 15th round, I mean, this guy, he was 14th in explosive run rate. He was 5th in missed tackles, 4th in yards after contact, 4th in yards per route run. Like, all the signs are showing that they need to get this guy involved somehow. And I think it's kind of silly for us to just, because Denver is going to be a bad team, but like, they are still going to score points. Like, Sean Payton will still manufacture points for them to get it. And I think Jaleel McLaughlin will be a part of that. And I think with obviously Bo Nix being, I like to call these guys check down Charlies, and he's one of those guys that for sure likes to check down the ball.
Next guy we have here, we are in the 16th round here. One of our last 2 players we're going to do, Darnell Mooney. It is a wide receiver. He just moved to the Falcons. And you know what? Those Falcons players, they've seen some of the worst like downfield target share. It's ridiculous how many. I think it's something like 46% of Mooney's downfield targets were actually catchable. Like, Justin Fields just could not get the ball to him. I don't even remember the quarterback that was there his first year. But we've seen Darnell. We've seen flashes from him. His rookie season, I believe it was 6 or 8 touchdowns he had. But just the number 2 in that offense, or at least the number 2 receiver in that offense, there could be points. We could be looking at a guy that gets flexed into your lineups. So Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think he's going to for sure be the wide receiver 2 for Atlanta. They didn't really do anything much. They made sure to sign him this free agency. I thought it was a pretty good signing for them. I think he showed like he had like almost like 30%, target share in his like standout performance season of like 2021. So obviously this guy can, be a playmaker for them. They don't need him to be the guy, and I think that's what happened for him in Chicago. And that's why he got a little burnt out over there. But I think he's coming in. He's going to have a safe role. I think you can have a chance to probably start him as a wide receiver 3 or in a flex spot. I don't necessarily hate it, and especially with him going undrafted essentially. Like you're getting him. I think he's someone to own for sure at the end of the draft.
All right, we've got 2 guys left on our list. We're only going to give the people one. Which one are we giving them?
Let's do the running back.
That's what I wanted to, but I felt bad because we hadn't done a quarterback in this list. Take it away.
So our guy that we have here is a late round snag. It's going to be the rookie. They were just drafted, I believe, in the 4th round. Is Buffalo Bills, Ray Davis. Day 3. Yeah, so he's going at 16th, basically the end of the draft, going for pennies on the dollar. But I think it's pretty clear they're pretty much saying this guy's going to be the goal line back. I mean, I know Josh Allen obviously steals some touches there, but I've told you guys, James Cook's going to be very, very good from the 20-yard line to the other 20-yard line. Anything else in between, I wouldn't get your hopes up. But I think this guy is for sure going to be the RB2 for the Bills. I think James Cook's obviously going to still lead the backfield and gobble up as, all the passing work. But Davis has a 3-down skill set. He did that in college. So I think with your last pick in the draft, why not take the guy who's going to be a goal line back and has potential to be the RB2 for this team?
And I don't think we need something tragic to happen for him to be involved. This guy might be a flex-worthy play throughout the season with James Cook. He might be that complement if we see J.K. Dobbins out there. He might be the Gus Edwards to the J.K. Dobbins for the Bills. Nice little complement piece. And he's older guy too, so we don't have to worry about bringing him in, figuring out the system, all that kind of stuff. Coaches are ready to let him rock and roll. But those are our late round snags. Out of those guys, which one's your favorite?
I'm a big Josh Palmer guy, so I like Josh Palmer. I think he could be the leading the team in receiving for yards, receptions, everything. And you're getting him basically the end of the draft. So,
give me Jalen Wright. I watched his plays. I think it was the week 2 preseason game. I went from 6 to midnight. I just could not help myself. I'm so excited to watch this guy play. Give me some more of the Dolphins. I think they're just going to crush it this year. Fantasy anyway. But that's all the time we have for you. It's late round snags. That's what we've got here. Brennan, tell the folks where they can find you.
So I'm on X at FFAMBMulk, and then you can find me in the Facebook group, Fantasy Football Advice Network, where I answer all your guys' questions about Dynasty, Redraft, Best Ball, you name it, I got you. He's got you covered because, I get halfway through typing and I just give up, folks. So he's the reliable one here. I just hit the buttons and make the thing record. But Brian, I can be found at @too_much_Brian on X. Like we said, we got it covered here. You find me on Reddit as well at @too_much_Brian. And then, of course, all over here on the Fantasy Football Advice YouTube channel and our podcast. We've got shows coming out, almost every day. I think it is every day. Oh, my God. Maybe not Saturday. It is every day. So much going down. So please make sure you like, subscribe, tell your friends, or, well, probably not telling your friends because you find all the best advice here. But until next time.